I'm going to introduce Dr. Beverley Damonse, who is the Group Executive for Science Engagement and Corporate Relations of the NRF. She has more than 15 years of senior executive leadership experience in the science and technology sector, with significant experience in the broader science engagement sector. I've had the privilege of working with Dr. Damonse in several spheres, and not only is she incredibly competent, but she's a wonderful person as well. And I would like to ask her to please say a few words.
Thank you for that warm introduction, Steve. I'm going to, given Dr. Nukeri's extensive warm welcome to our stakeholder community, I am going to save to give a special word of acknowledgement to Mr. Buti Manamela, the Deputy Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, and our guest speaker this morning, Dr. Christoph Fenyövesi of the Finnish Institute of Educational Research. And then I'm going to invoke all protocol observed, because I feel that many of us around the table, even though we are under less normal circumstances and on a digital platform, have at some stage or the other interacted. So thank you. And a very good morning to you all from a really rather chilly Gauteng province. Once again, I just want to say thank you to the organizers for the opportunity to share a few thoughts with you this morning on behalf of the National Research Foundation, which you've heard is a science council of the Departments of Science and Innovation. Everything that the NRF does, whether in the area of people, of research infrastructure, or science engagement, is done in order to advance the knowledge enterprise for the benefit of society. So in this context, the NRF recognizes the importance of a scientifically literate and a critically engaged society as an essential component of our country's transition towards a knowledge economy. SASTA, as you've heard in the introduction, is a business unit of the NRF and serves as the national coordinator of science engagement in the country, as articulated through the science engagement strategy of the Department of Science and Innovation. As such, the unit conceptualizes and coordinates programs that contribute to the much needed STEMI pipeline from school to high-end tertiary and professional level skills. And therefore, you would find the organization of this particular community of practice conference initiated under the intention to, through our partnerships and networks, to continue to identify and nurture talent. But I think this year is a year that's really a bit different. I think this STEMI 2021 Community of Practice Conference is like no other before, since it takes place amidst a global health and economic crisis, with the twin acknowledgement that the still ravaging pandemic that we are experiencing and the subsequent economic shocks that have impacted most those communities that were already at a disadvantage. So if we realize this, then the expectation is that at minimum, our conversations over the next few days, even in the context of Olympiads and competitions, will be influenced by our experiences of the societal and economic changes that the situation has demanded for all, both nationally and globally. So with this in mind, I think there are a number of areas that we would have to think about. I think in the context, our conversations over the next few days would have to be cognizant of the effect of the pandemic on education itself, on our education system. where teaching and learning has had to continue despite a myriad of challenges, compounded by the various enormous variations in income and access to resources. Those have been so starkly brought to the fore. Inequalities that we may have recognized before have really emerged as challenges that continue to need our attention. Where the research, in this case from researchers at WITS, indicates that the average grade 9 learner has more than likely had less than half of the normal year's time in class during 2020. Imagine losing half of the year in contact. Where digital learning environments and the sustainable use of educational technology has become imperative. Educators thrown into the digital learning environment and fast developing educational technology, where digital libraries, e-portals, WhatsApp learning groups, virtual classes, smartphone apps, and zero-rated data. Oh, that was a new one for me. I learned about that one, where zero-rated data have become common education lingo. And where there's a very real possibility, as some HSRC research indicates, that in the absence of a quick recovery of learning losses, it is possible that fewer learners will leave school with skills and knowledge to access further learning or to find an appropriate space in the knowledge market. And I think our discussions around the impact of the pandemic and the economic challenges faced in our varying context of our country would have to take cognizance of these. Secondly, I think in finding common pathways and innovative solutions for the future workforce, premised on early identification, nurturing, and then support and promotion, our conference conversations would also have to be cognizant of some of the key findings of the World Economic Forum 2020 Future of Jobs report. Among others, these include increased pace of technology adoption, with things like big data, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, still high priorities. We've known that for a while now, but we see a significant rise in a focus on encryption, non-humanoid robots, and artificial intelligence, where the skill gaps continue to be high in top skills such as critical thinking and analysis, problem solving, and importantly, skills in self-management. How these have come to the fore in the situation in which we find ourselves. Under here, we think about things like resilience, flexibility, and stress tolerance, important skills that we all need to develop. And in fact, when we think about the jobs of tomorrow, hopefully, those are what we are thinking about for the kinds of interventions that we are implementing, then there's a demand for workers who can fill the green economy. There's new roles in engineering, cloud computing, and product development, as well as roles at the forefront of people and culture. And it is so important to remember and for us to have experienced the importance of the human and social sciences and humanities in a pandemic, largely having science conversations about viruses and antigens and vaccines and vaccination programs. The issue of people and culture remains central to our thinking about the kind of jobs for tomorrow. As the report of the World Economic Forum states, by 2025, 44% of skills that people need to perform their jobs today will have changed. And that, I think, is something that we have to remain cognizant of, remain open to, flexible in terms of thinking through our strategies in terms of Olympiads and competition. I think also our reimagining and for Olympiads and competition, you see, I'm thinking of the Tokyo Olympics already. Our reimagining for Olympiads and competition should also be really stimulated by the great science achievements and the technological innovations of our comparatively small South African science system. A small science system that, however, continues to take center stage in the global arena in many research areas. Not sure if you know, but you would have seen in the media at the end of June, we heard the announcement of the start of the construction of the SKA telescope in Australia and South Africa. Remember, you've heard all these years ago about the award, about the preparatory work, and now the construction is going to start with the, consolidation of the international office. And this is going to result in 197 dishes in South Africa, others in Australia. But in that media release, you would have seen this quoted as the largest science facility of its kind on the planet, with two of the largest and most complex networks of radio telescopes ever built. And one of these sit outside Carnarvon in the Northern Cape in our country. Amazing. And our motivation and our identification of talent should be using this prowess of our science. And that's just one example. You would have seen early in July that using the South Africa's Meerkat telescope, a group of 20 galaxies has been discovered by the Meerkat telescope for the first time globally. And so we see great infrastructure and absolutely quality science coming out of there, the kind of science that can be used to motivate, to guide, to interest our youth of today, and especially through our Olympiads and competitions. Given these kinds of contextual factors, both nationally and globally, I think it's very pleasing to note that as part of the imperatives of the transformation agenda and in pursuit of improved impact, impact is so central to visibly changing lives, that the DSI and SASTA, in consultation with the different stakeholders, developed the STEMI Olympiads and related competitions development and support framework that, as you heard, will be discussed and adopted in the 3-day conference. You will find that we are hoping to ensure the realization of the objectives of the framework and really to expand and to enhance Olympiads and competitions, promoting development of problem-solving skills, fostering meaningful and inclusive participation of learners, and really laying a solid foundation for the development of a society that is scientifically literate, knowledgeable about science, and confidently form opinions on science issues. I think we all know how important that is in the era of fake news, in the era of skepticism around, growing skepticism around science, and some skepticism around evidence-based policymaking. So really, we have to continue to drive an agenda here. I think in conclusion, there are a number of good stories to tell about former Olympiads and competitions. I know we as NRF, and NRF SASTA, we always quote the Olympiad journey of one of our most visible National Science Olympiad winners, now Professor 4IR himself, as I like to call him, Professor Chalitsi Marwala, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Johannesburg. And his story is a really interesting one. But on the 1st of April 2021, a former PhD student of Professor Marwala joined the NRF as one of its youngest CEOs. And that is Professor Fulufela Nyawamonda, himself having been a top achiever in the National Science Olympiad, currently implemented by SASTA. So we have a CEO who's worked in the areas of advanced modeling, information security, data science, and artificial intelligence, who has been awarded the Order of Mapungubwe in silver, a highest civilian honor, but who has also sat at the desk at the time writing the National Science Olympiad competition, very paper-based still at that time, who also has been able to join the National Science Week and feel the participation, joint participation of high achievers, who has also been involved in role modeling campaigns and also the support of maths and science education with outreach programs. So we feel very honored at this time to be able to see that the Olympiads and competitions do not sit in isolation, do not sit as interventions in and of themselves, but that if we work at this, that we can continue to inspire and to motivate and to promote and support the talent that we find out there, and that we can continue to ensure that no learners are left behind. With this, I would like to wish you all the best for the conference as you go ahead to strengthen collaborations and partnership in this important area of work. Thank you very much.